Everyone, welcome to the MC consultancy space for finance and legalities 2023 and 2024. I start recorded already. So before I start, just would like to introduce myself. I'm the current MCEB FL term 2223 and also the current MCP elect for term 2324 itself lah. So my current experiences that I have is basically beside being the MCPFL, I also the current RSD for Asia Pacific, mainly on finance. And my previous role, I have like IGV experience, BD, mainly working on account managing and also community project for Clean Our Plate and also Eco project itself. So side note, I'm also a psychology graduate from Taylor's University. So for today's wise, the content of the session will be mainly focusing on why finance and legalities, and so a little bit of the finance and legalities evolution, the history and also the growth path, and also will be focusing more in terms of like term 2223 focus and also the achievement that I have in the term, and also the proposed direction for upcoming 2324 itself lah. And also there will be a short Q&A basis if there's any question from the floor. So coming to here, right, why finance and legalities for AIESEC Malaysia? So when talking about finance and legalities, definitely like there is three things that we need to focus in terms of driving towards the AIESEC 2025 midterm direction itself. So when we're talking about that, it's more on like the empowering youth leaders, building long-lasting AIESEC, and also developing purposeful partnership itself. And when zooming out from the perspective of like the chief finance officer, right, in the bigger picture, building a long-lasting AIESEC is focuses more in terms of the sustainability. So when talking about sustainability here is like how are we basically guarantees that we are actually financially comply, and also like how are we legalities comply to ensure that we are still driving the customer-centric, that ensuring that what we are doing is still viable, and also ensuring that we are able to sustain as an organization. And when working as a FL, right, we are not just touching about finance, not touching about legalities and etc., but we also empower youth to develop them personally. So when we are working on FL roles, right, we are basically develop different kind of skills such as management, negotiation, critical thinking, problem solving, planning, analysis, reporting, and definitely a lot of like all these things are also do require us to make decision. And at the end of the day, what we are driving at this organization is also about leadership as well. And last but not least, sometimes you must be wondering like why developing purposeful partnership is also part of the CFO role here is because that when in a team setting, in a EB meeting or synergy meeting, right, basically the back office such as VPFL, we will be playing the role of like training our front office to be able to have the simulation on how to coordinate and also communicate with different kind of stakeholders. And also this is the part that how we basically build each of us to be able to have the effective kind of relationship to ensure that we're able to have the purposeful partnership in the future. Because whatever that we do here, we are also a supporting role to ensure that our front office is able to achieve the performance, so that we are also able to perform at our own role as well. So moving forward, when talking about the midterm direction, all these three things will basically contribute to the AIESEC 2025. And from AIESEC International, what they have this code which is like own the present, shape the future, and lead the change. So this is the culture that basically this is the thing that they want to instill. So basically we own the present by solving the ongoing issue and also supporting the entity demands, and eventually we're able to shape the future by optimizing our operation, for example like those databases or the infrastructure that we have, and eventually lead the change by constantly improving our services and the value towards our own entity itself lah. So moving forward, right, the purpose of finance and legalities here in AIESEC Malaysia is always about like to ensure that we are 100% legal and also sustained in finance manner, to ensure that all this sustained already, then we can drive our operation at all level. Because whatever that we do in AIESEC Malaysia, or even in your LC or like SUs or even OE, we do require certain kind of finance in order for us to run the impact that we wish to see in this organization itself. So basically, when talking about the global finance relationship, right, so this is how it works basically. So you can see that like we basically here we have the MCs, right, MCVP here. So beside like working with the LCs, you'll be working closely with the entity support team and also the regional office and also the AI to provide them the financial processes that we have or like the data that we collected in order for to show them that we are basically financial transparency itself. And there will be also certain kind of like stakeholders such as the Legalities side, which is the ECB and also ICB, to ensure that what we are doing are still ethic and also legal legally in our organization itself. So moving forward, if let's say you see here, right, we basically what we are doing here in FL function is that we basically manage the finance, we implement the finance and legal standards, and then like we have our finance data system and also finance data audit that we will do monthly basis or weekly basis itself. And there is also the finance strategy that we basically improvise our finance system, like those databases, all the system, and also like all those SOP and processes that we have to ensure that AIESEC basically have some sort of like legitimately kind of like system to ensure like it enables us to make a quick decision when coming to financial resources. And when all this finance strategy that we have already, all the finance system that we have, eventually all this will bring forward towards like to achieve our finance objective, which is to build a long-lasting AIESEC. When we're able to build a long-lasting AIESEC, right, meaning that AIESEC Malaysia will have sufficient kind of financial resources to continue to develop the leadership for years to come. So then at the end of the day, when we have all these sufficient finance resources, then we can contribute back towards the impact that we wish to see, which is our entity stand, which is for United Malaysia itself. So now moving forward, right, I want to share a bit on like the history and also the growth path of finance and legality. So back then in term 16-17, right, this is the term that we started to have no invoice issue to LC term 2016. So therefore like we have a huge LC debt since LC term 2017. So like we have all the consolidation of MC invoices to show like all the huge debt, and then like and also that particular year, right, actually national side are facing a lot of cash flow issue meaning that we do not have sufficient fund to make payment for fixed costs, like for example condo and also offices that for MC yeah. And then eventually in term 17-18 itself, that will be the first time that the finance standard is actually introduced to the LC VP network or even the or the MTs lah. And that is the time also like they start to educate on the finance standard. And that is also the year that we started to introduce the accounting system, which is the Wave. So like whatever that you guys using now in LC, the transaction like you record in the Wave system is actually started from term 17-18 itself. And also that is also a particular year that we started to have the LC invoice payment planning. So if let's say you remember, right, we actually have the MC internal receivable, like you basically can plan your invoices. So that is the part that in 17-18 they basically divide into like how to divide them into like long-term debt and also short-term debt. So the long-term debt here in Malaysia is like basically any liabilities that above 12 months, then we consider them as long-term debt, and liabilities that below 12 months, then we consider that as short-term debt itself. And the year of 17-18 is the year that we start to have strict budgeting among the LC itself, like the respective that time the MCVP FL actually do track on like how LC are making budgeting itself. So moving forward, right, in the year of 18-19, that is also the year that we start to implement the finance standard itself lah. Since that time in 17-18 we actually educate and also provide the education cycle in the network, right? So then this is the year that we implement finance standard, and also 90% of the LC basically clear all their long-term debt for term 2018 itself. And then eventually that is also the year that IGV start to have the financial audit itself. So we have proper criteria to drive the financial for the GV, right, we have the DMF, right. Then that's the part that we include like the profit strategies, we include the risk assessment criteria, and also we have proper tracking system in terms of the cash flow itself. And then that is also the particular year that we start to change our AIESEC Malaysia finance model, and also we started to have our product contract review. So if let's say you see that what happened in current in your LC, right, you will basically have they will have this MOA for EP, MYV, NCROP, and etc. Right. So that is basically term 18-19 are the one that start to implement all this contract. And that's also the year that we start to retrieve back our entity tax submission information, and also we have certain kind of government engagement with the higher education, Ministry of Higher Education. That time we got the endorsement for our GV product and also GTA product. Yeah. Then moving forward to term 19-20, right? So term 19-20 is the year that like we revise our financial model again, and also we legislate our finance model itself. And that's also the year that we started to have this travel cost sharing to be legislated in the compendium, and also we revise on the LC fixed cost percentage allocation for the product itself. And that is also the year that we start to have the thought process on how we are working on dynamic budget, and also have strong cash flow management plan for LC itself. And that time we also review on the IGT, IGE, and also OGV pricing. And that is also the time that we start to work on the EWA local volunteer pricing to be legislated in the compendium. Yeah. And they also have proper tracking in terms of like how MC are doing investment, and also to have like long-term and short-term risk assessment in terms of the operation that we run. And also like if you remember in term 18-19, right, we basically have like certain kind of like tax exemption, and also like tax stuff, right, that we actually re-engage. And this is also the year that we go full force on like working on legalities research, because we want to ensure that we're able to have the tax submission, we are able to get the tax exemption for our sales part, and also be able to get proper visa to run our global volunteer and also global talent product in Malaysia itself. So moving forward to year 20 and 21, so this is the year that basically we work on like the NAF distribution model, and also like we revise and legislate it. And also this is also the year that we start to review in terms of like the specialized unit financial model, and also working with the FL subcommittee, they're able to come out like a EID monitoring system that they have currently lah. And also like they do certain kind of like analysis to look into like whether there's any possibility to expand this OGTA function itself. And after having all the EID monitoring system creation, right, they also have a EID clause that they revised and also legislated in a compendium. And also at time they also work on like certain kind of IGV local virtual volunteer profit strategy system in order for the profit strategy to be able to execute. So they have a system like to ensure that that can be implemented as well. And that particular year is also the year of COVID, right? So that is also the year that the MC team also look into the pricing creation and also revision on like how we are driving the local virtual volunteer in the particular term itself. And the project audit for the finance criteria is also revised. If you still remember back then in 18-19 and 19-20, right, we have the finance criteria with risk management, and then like the finance tracking, and also profit strategy, right? So this is also the year that they have more criteria being revised and also added into the DMF itself. And this is also a particular term that we focus a lot about internal legal audit implementation, and we also able to form we're able to get some sort of like guidance and support from our national lawyer lah, because this is the year that basically we able to engage one of our supervisory group member to become a national lawyer itself. And we also basically update our legal document based on the AIESEC portfolio internal policy, as well as the AIESEC exchange policy. Yeah. So beside that, we also start to look into the research on the GV minimum, which is like how are we able to get the professional visa pass in order for us to run legally for global volunteer and also global talent product in Malaysia itself. And that particular year is also the year that we basically got 100% fulfillment in global for the global data protection regulation itself. And this is also the year that we continue to revise our financial model and also legislate our model in the compendium. Then moving forward, right, in the year of 21-22, which is in Celine term, basically what she does have like she done like the GFB chart of account alignment, like using the most refreshed version of the GFB account, the COA, and then also like start to track on the finance and legal standard in LC itself. And also we basically start to establish a FL resource hub. So like for example, those newsletter that you get every month, right? So that is actually a resource hub that we actually keep updated on the like the FL meeting output, or like any of the BO submit, or even WNC, right? All those content will be updated there as well. And also like for example, all those past term Google Drive will be attached on that particular FL resource hub as well, in order for those LCBP FL to be able to track back all the past resources and also being more resourceful to go and look through the data. And this is also the year that we start to do a lot of external reporting. So like as you know, like finance data is very sensitive, and also like a lot of things need to be transparent, right? So this is also the year that we start to do a lot of external reporting, and also to showcase like how are we using the money, and also how we are receiving money from partners as well as the youth. Yeah. And we also do continue in terms of the entity legal status research, so mainly like focusing on the visa, tax exemption, and also like working in terms of like looking into like whether can we shift ourselves from the NGO to social enterprise itself. And this is also the year that we start to implement the credit policy. So if you remember that we have the 90 days, 60 days invoice that we have implemented, right, in the in our invoices. You can see that like credit terms, like how many days, right? So this is also the year that we do research, and then we implement the credit policy for our partners as well as our LC side and SUs. And this is also the year that we start to plan out our debt, and also having a financial reserve itself for investment and also risk management standards itself. So moving forward in terms of the focuses and achievement for term 2223. So at the start of my term, I focused a lot in terms of like entity legal status, mainly focusing on tax exemption, and also like product legalities, and also working on the revision of the MOA from hybrid to fully physical, and then also working in terms of like how is the liquidity of the entity as well for MC side, and also like to work in terms of like how the current LC are able to drive the product growth, and also the entity growth itself in terms of investments, and also like their capacity building. So that is the part that I drive a lot in the winter peak. And during the summer peak, which is right now, I focus a lot, still continue to focus on entity legalities. So that is like to continue the efforts of like the tax exemption part, as well as like to work on the visa side to ensure that we're able to fulfill the GB minimum and also the GTA minimum itself, to be able to get the visa to run the product legally in Malaysia. And also to work more in terms of the global exchange resumption. So like for example, OGV is going to OGV is resumed, and then now our next project will be mainly focusing on like how to do pricing research for IGV resumption itself, and also like to look into whether would there be any risk if let's say we to run the project to run the product in Malaysia itself, like what kind of high risk or medium risk or low risk that we have if let's say we run the product in Malaysia. And definitely like every year, if let's say you look back to the past few terms, right, we actually have reviewed the finance model, right? So this is the time that we realized that the finance model has not been able to sustain or being relevant towards the current context. Hence we basically rebuild and also revise the entire finance model and legislate the entire finance model back then in January legislative meeting itself, and potentially to look into like how can we also have like development fund and also like investment fund to drive our organization itself. And currently, one other thing that we are focusing as well is also on the entity finance system evaluation itself lah. So this is mainly particularly to focus on like how can we improve the finance and also legal data accuracy and reliability. So currently we are still working in terms of the business intelligence dashboard implementation, as well as like to work on like how are we able to align in terms of the AIESEC financial procedure manual, as well as the GFB, I mean mainly on the FL SONA lah, like how can we able to revise and also revamp certain of the criteria in the compendium itself to ensure that we able to get the data that we want in order for them in order for LCVP and also LCP to make the right decision at the right timely manner as well. So basically right now the ongoing focuses still in summer is basically we are still working in terms of the entity product pricing. So meaning that currently my team and I actually still working on the national pricing model for IGV, OGV, and also the entity AIWA initiative, which is also known as Malaysian Youth Volunteer. So we'll be looking into like the current pricing, like whether it's still relevant to run it in terms of like hybrid and also physical context itself. And we will be also continue to work in terms of the entity finance model to monitor on the execution of like the the NEF, and also like would that be able to execute 100% during this upcoming summer as well. And if let's say there is also alarming state that will be harming towards the LC, then you will be revise the entire entity finance model if necessary itself. And also moving forward, like we'll be continue to work in terms of the entity development fund. So this is the part that mainly we will focus in terms of like research on certain kind of investment fund for certain costs. So for example, let's say like since we'll be looking into like specialized units going to OE, or like maybe they'll be going to LC, right? So this is the part that we are looking into, like whether can we have certain kind of fund that will be allocated for this kind of like expansions, or like we will have like certain kind of funding to subsidize membership development, or like would there be a certain kind of fund that we can allocate for marketing and infrastructure. So this will be the research that I'll be working in this term to look into whether there is any possibility that having this kind of development fund for AIESEC Malaysia itself. And moving forward, right, we'll be also focusing in terms of the business intelligence dashboard. So this is the part that what I mentioned just now, that how can we basically consolidate all the data and also ensure that the LCVP, FL, and also LCP can make decision based on the accuracy and also reliability of the data, and then they can make timely kind of like decision based on all the data they're able to see. So basically we will have this system called Google Looker, or formerly known as the Google Data Studio, that able to consolidate all the national data and also local data. So means LCVP, FL can go and look into all this data and also make necessary decision, and also from this kind of data, right, they can also analyze and also interpret the data from there as well. Yeah. And lastly, the part that we will be still continue to work on is on the entity legality part lah. So mainly focusing on researching like whether there is any possibility to get the quota for professional visa pass. Mainly this is the pass, the only visa that allowed for volunteering for GTA and also for global volunteer itself. So this is the part that we will continue to look into it, and also potentially we'll look into like whether can we collaborate with the government sector to see like whether can we have a customized visa for our volunteer project or even our internship program itself. And because like right now we have more and more sales coming in nationally and locally, so you'll look into like how can we obtain the tax exemption status in order to have more, how should I say, to ensure that we have proper kind of like status for our partners. If let's say they want to work on the donation for our B2B project or even our CSR project itself. So that is the part that we will continue to work on. Yeah. Then moving forward for the proposed direction in term 2324, right? So I think there will be 4 things that would suggest to work on is basically on the entity financial model revamp lah. So this is the part that basically can look into like whether the finance model is still relevant at the current the particular term, and also can look into like whether the NAF distribution model is still relevant, because like after changing to 55 to 45, right, then that's the part that you need to monitor and see would that actually cause harm to LC, or like whether is it still relevant to the particular term itself. And I think just now we did mention about like looking into like potentially there will be SU and also like expansion to OE, right? So that's the part that maybe we can review in terms of the expansion financial model. And also lastly is to look into the travel cost sharing, because the travel cost sharing that we have currently is based on the LC sustainability level 1, 2, 3, but then currently LC sustainability level is no longer a measurement that AIESEC International is using to measure in terms of the sustainability metrics. Then the second focus can look into the entity reserve and also investment fund. So this is mainly to look into like how we are basically working on MC and LC semester budget, like whether we are legislating LC semester budget in the entire national compendium, and also to look into like how can we basically legislate the MC and LC restricted and also unrestricted fund itself. So this is basically to make sure that all the money that we are working on, right, is actually transparent enough to let all our stakeholders to aware about like how we are utilizing our money, or like where is our money going as well. And also to have like proper semester report generated for all of the investment fund that we have for that we do lah. So like for example, like we are working on certain kind of like project or certain kind of like investment, make sure to have proper percentage of return of investment to be documented as well. And also that's the part that maybe can look into like to have an assets investment plan. So for example, like we can look into like how national side can also start to work on like purchasing MC office or to purchase MC condo. So this may be like something that they can look into to research, and also to look into whether it's a feasible kind of like thing that to work in their term as well. And for MCLC resource consolidation is mainly like how can we basically work in terms of MCLC collaboration for national event, and also like how are we basically allocate the percentage to investment cost in our fixed budget lah for national side. And also like how can we have certain kind of like entity product development plan, and also like how are we working with government to form certain kind of relationship, and also like can look into how are we aligning in terms of the accounting MC and LC, so that all of the financial data are combined together, not just as LC in Kuching or LC in Utah like that, but how can we consolidate all our data as AIESEC in Malaysia to make our data to be more transparent to all of the stakeholders that we're working. And also how can we make like a MC-LC subsidiary system. So for example, let's say like like outside of the external world, right, how they work is basically they will have McDonald's Malaysia, right, and then they will have like McDonald's Selangor, McDonald's like KL like that. So how can we make all the our finance to be consolidated to AIESEC in Malaysia, but then we have all the different branches like that. And also like when we have this system being formed already, how can we have proper education in terms of the change management, because meaning that all this money will be channeled or like straight to AIESEC in Malaysia, right, and then like how will be the change of management itself. And lastly is like to look into whether there will be a feasibility for us to go from NGO status to social enterprise. So that's the part that can look into like how can we have a proper research process, and also like timeline mapping, and also maybe to look into like working on documentation and also the application process. And if let's say we able to obtain the social enterprise status, then that's the part that we can look into like how can we educate our LC and also SC or even OE to utilize this social enterprise status, and also like how to align in terms of like utilizing this status itself. So I think that's pretty much for the entire consultancy space. So if let's say you guys have any question, you can just click into the link to put the question in the spreadsheet. Yeah, wait, let me send the spreadsheet to the chat. Yeah, I will share this tab instead. Yeah, if let's say you guys have any question, can always unmute yourself to ask. Yeah, do you guys have any question? You can ask me also. Yeah, there's no right or wrong. If cool, you can put a wave as well. Oh yeah, Vivian.
Oh, yeah. Brandon, sorry. This is I get a lot of, but then I wish like the right of like
You are very lag. Vivian, you're very lag. Vivian.
Yeah. Can you hear? Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, enggak. No, Brandon, can you hear me?
Yeah, now can hear you.
Okay, so this is a bit out of topic, but then I wish to understand like the thought process of like from like transforming like AIESEC like from NGO to social enterprise.
Yeah, so I think when meaning that we are going to social enterprise, right, meaning that we have a target pool of beneficiaries that we are actually working with. Yeah. So at the end of the day, right, what we are doing is also like we want to have a targeted beneficiaries, right? So for example, like for our GV or even our MRE product, right, we are focusing to drive the beneficiary which are our students, right? So that is the end out goal that we are doing for community impact like that. So we have a clear target pool like that that we want to contribute towards. Yeah.
Actually, thank you, Brandon, for the
Yeah.
for a question.
Why IGV site have a FL coordinator but it's not directly under FL? Are they doing the same thing or different? So why FL will have like a OC FL there is because they will be working very closely with the project team in terms of like coming out certain kind of like project budget or like working on certain kind of risk assessment or like working certain kind of profit strategy. So how that's work like this separately is because whatever the FL VP or even FL manager they are working, right, is supporting the entire organization finance and legalities. But what happened for those OCFL in their functions, right, they are just supporting in terms of the project. Yeah, so that is the difference between like the two FLs peeps. Yeah. Yeah, and also the reason why we wouldn't suggest to have FL member to go directly to FL function is because they wouldn't be understand about like how FL operate or like how FL is supporting the function, I mean the product. But then if let's say you basically expose them in IGV or like even in the NYV product, right, they're able to see the connection on like how this FL role is supporting in terms of the things that they are doing in the function. Yeah, there's certain kind of connection, like they're able to see like, oh, the impact that we are driving, right, do require certain kind of finances. So such as like we need to have like accommodation fee, we need to have like transportation fee to make the impact to be happen. Yeah, like that lor. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, welcome.
Hi, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Can.
Can, right? Okay. So another question here is regarding the tax exemption. I'm kind of curious on how this can actually play a role for us. So can you actually explain more?
Yeah, okay. So for tax exemption, right? So basically, when partners or like even companies they want to donate their money, right? So when they donate the money, actually when they donate that certain kind of amount, right, they're able to get back the tax from the government. So meaning that they can deduct the amount of the donation from the tax that the company need to pay to the government. So let's say for example they need to pay 300, let's say they have an income of 300, right, from the company, but then like because they donate this money to NGO, right, or even like certain kind of social enterprise, then they can actually get an exemption from the amount that they earn from the income there. Yeah, so basically when we have this tax exemption status, right, it will be more appealing and also more advantageous for partners to donate money to us like that. Yeah, so you can see like basically why some of the LC, right, they will have very high the MOFR because like the money has been donated to the uni there, and they wouldn't be able to get the money out from there because that time the partner want the tax exemption, but then AIESEC in Malaysia we don't have the status of tax exemption, then they donate the money to uni side lor, like that. So that's the reason why we are also trying very hard to regain the status of tax exemption in order for us to provide this the tax exemption receipt so that our partner can also get back the uh, tax when they donate the money. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be regaining because last time we actually have the tax exemption status. It's just that we didn't pay the we didn't we didn't pay the tax. So what happened is that no matter we are non-profit organization or we are profit organization, right, we need to make sure that we pay our tax every year. So what happened now is like we need to provide the how should I say provide document and provide all the statement to show to our tax agent so that our tax agent can work very closely with the royal custom, which is the government in order for us to get back our status as having the tax exemption status. Yeah. What about others? You have any questions? Okay, so I think if there's no more question, then wait. My slide. Oh no, what's happened to my slide? Oopsie. Go back to here. Share. Okay, if you have more questions, you can just put your question at the MCEB 2324 consultancy space Q&A sheet itself, and then I will actually respond to your question if there's any. Yeah, and if you have any question or you need more consultancies online or like face to face, you can actually text me, message via Telegram, or you can just drop me an email so that I can respond to your question and also provide you the context that you need lah. And definitely there will be also resources that you can actually find. So I think here are some of the resources that you can access, and if let's say you do need further kind of resources, can just approach me as well. Yeah, so I think that's all for this consultancy, and also I wish you all the best for the MCEB 2324 application itself. Yeah, bye. Damn. Yeah.